Welcome. This is our Spring 2022 Academic Affairs Update. We welcome you all. We're all looking forward to a Spring 22 semester back on campus. I want to introduce our panelists here today. I'm Jody Cormack. I'm the Vice Provost for Academic Programs and Dean of Graduate Studies. As I introduce you, if you maybe want to just have a little wave and let people know who you are. We have Karen Sissom-Gunn, who is our Provost and Executive Vice President for Academic Affairs. We have Dr. Kimberly Fodren, who is our Medical Director for CSULB Student Health Services. Dr. Pia Bose, who is our Student Affairs Dean of Students. Annette Morton, who is our Director of Faculty Affairs. Michelle Laws, who is our Assistant VP for Administration and Finance for Campus Logistics, and then George Alfaro. Welcome, thank you all. You guys are great. You all have had a huge role in not only what you normally do on campus, but in our repopulation efforts, which are really going on close to 2 years now. So I think the idea today is to talk a little bit about what we've learned, how we're going to take what we've learned and move it forward into Spring 22 as we look to repopulate more of our campus. I want to start off, first of all, with Dr. Fodren. If you could give us a little bit of a medical update right now.
Hello, everyone. So just starting off with news about the Omicron variant, and I'm just giving you information based on what we know today. As we know, data and new things are coming up on a daily basis. And so you may expect that some of these things may change rather quickly. What we do know about the Omicron variant is that it has a high number of mutations of the spike protein. And these mutations are what make it a little bit more contagious. By some studies, it possibly is a lot more contagious than the original strain and more easily transmissible. We need more data to see if Omicron infections, especially the reinfections or the breakthrough infections, cause more severe disease. But the good news is that current vaccinations are expected to protect against severe disease and illness. So that makes it really important for people. If you have not gotten vaccinated yet, I would strongly encourage you to consider it. And if you have not yet received your booster, please do so as soon as you can. This is one of the most important things to protect you and your loved ones. Vaccines also protect against the likelihood of new variants emerging and really helps to slow transmission.
Thank you. I know that we had a lot of success on our campus in fall semester as we started our repopulation with our health and safety guidelines that we implemented. Can you talk a little bit about kind of our history with our health and safety guidelines and any clusters that we had or any outbreaks that we might have had on campus and how that's going to inform us going forward?
I think the good news is with the pandemic is that we are fairly well versed on dealing with, outbreaks and clusters, which on campus we've had very, very few. We've had some at the very beginning of the pandemic, but in terms of clusters in the classroom, we absolutely had none during the fall semester. So I think that's a really important thing to note. I think we have a robust protocols here on campus that really help protect you when you're here on campus. We have a combination of the vaccines, we have widely available testing, in addition to very robust cleaning protocols. So I think overall coming to campus is in general a pretty safe place compared to most places you would visit in the general public.
Well, that's great to hear. Thanks so much, Dr. Fodren. You mentioned cleaning protocols. I'm going to go to George Alfaro. George, can you talk a little bit about what Beach Building Services and our Environmental Health Services has done to protect our campus during this time and what our plans are moving forward?
Sure. So as Director of Environmental Health and Safety, my role here on campus is to ensure the overall health and safety of our campus community. In regards to COVID prevention, that includes a couple things. So what I do, I ensure the ventilation system of our buildings and facilities are operating efficiently. We maximize our fresh air intake, and we've increased the filtration system of our buildings. We also ensure that our buildings and facilities are ready and clean, disinfected for use every morning, every day. We have our cleaning crew that is doing enhanced disinfection after hours every evening, all classrooms, all common areas and open offices we take care of on a nightly basis. We also have a crew going throughout the day that's hitting high touch areas on campus. So I like to think we have our cleaning down to a science when it comes to that. We also make sure that our buildings and our facilities have hand sanitizers as you come in, make sure they're properly signed with all our COVID requirements, so everyone is aware that they need a mask up before they go into the building. Everyone is aware they need to go through a COVID health screening before they come on the campus. And we also make sure we have ample personal protective equipment everywhere for the entire campus to use, not only for staff, but for staff, students, the community. You know, we say no. If there's a question, we always supply as far as PPE in that regard. And to me, one of the most important things is that we have, one of the tools we have is our COVID training. We developed a campus-specific COVID training that not only informs people who take the training, the latest and greatest information we have on the COVID variant, but what are we doing as a campus to fight it? How are we fighting this variant on campus? We really put a lot of effort into the training program. So we have a real good training that is campus specific. A lot of other campuses are using trainings that are online, that are just available for every campus. We developed one that is just available for Long Beach students and staff, and faculty. So it's kind of what we're doing. Keeps us busy, keeps me on my toes.
I'm sure it does. I know you guys have just done a great job. You know, we started off in spring 2020 and shut everything down. And have slowly opened everything up. And as we've opened up, I know that Beach Building Services has been really busy to make sure that we continue our cleaning and safety and disinfecting protocols. So by opening up slowly over the last year and a half, I think it's allowed us to kind of roll over what we've learned and be able to take care of more and more buildings as they open. So we're pretty much planning on having most buildings open in spring. Is that right?
That's correct. And our crews, we're ready. We have our building systems ready. Our engineers are fine tuning all our HVAC equipment. It's all filters installed. Everything's ready. Our cleaning crews are ready on schedule to clean everything, to get everything ready for the spring semester. So as far as buildings and VBS concerned, I think we're ready for that.
Oh, that's great. Thank you so much, George. Pia, I'm going to go to you next. So normally as Dean of Students, I know you work a lot with students, but you've been working very closely with us in Repopulation as well. If you could talk a little bit about what you're doing and maybe also, as George brought up, kind of highlight some of our processes that students, faculty, and staff will need to do as they come onto campus if they haven't been to campus before.
Absolutely. So let's start with the process of coming to campus. All folks who are coming to campus need to complete a pre-screen before coming to campus. It's a handful of questions just to ensure that folks are cleared to come to campus. Upon completion, folks are going to receive a green check mark, which means they can come to campus, they're cleared, or they're going to receive a red X. Folks that receive a red X need to stay at home or wherever they're at before coming to campus. They will receive a phone call from someone to ask some additional questions, and that person will give them guidance on whether or not it's okay to come to campus at that time. It's important that folks follow the instructions from the individual that's calling when they receive a red X, so that we're able to follow up and keep the campus safe ultimately, right? Additionally, folks need to wear masks when they're indoors at all times. There are no exceptions to wearing any sort of face coverings while on campus indoors. If folks are in a situation where they need to take their mask or face covering off, we ask that folks go outdoors. We've got tons of tables and chairs and extended Wi-Fi outside. So folks really can do a lot of their business outside if that's the preference, including getting on Zoom meetings and such. The Wi-Fi really is strong outdoors. And then, you know, if folks come to campus and they forget a face covering, right? It happens sometimes. We're all human. We've got health ambassadors that are throughout the campus who will have face coverings and hand sanitizer and gloves and anything else you may need to keep you safe. Look out for health ambassadors. There's also various places around campus, including department offices and the student union, where folks can grab a face covering if they forget one or it breaks or rips or whatever. And then another thing that's really important is that we have some students who are going to be required to test on a regular basis. Some of these folks include student athletes, students in the College of the Arts, club sports participants, and there's other groups. It's really important that folks who are signed up for mandatory weekly testing participate in the weekly testing. This is one of the precautions that we're taking to keep the campus safe for those who are involved in different activities and so on. In terms of how we're following up, if there are students who are not in compliance with any of our policies, they will receive outreach from my office and student conduct until they get caught up with their requirements, whether it is their face coverings, their testing, their pre-screens, et cetera. Our hope is that everyone will just do this on the front end and it'll keep things safe and well for everyone on campus. And then if students ever have questions about what their expectations are or what they need to do, I invite them to contact my office, or Student Health Services can answer a lot of questions too as well.
That's great. Thank you so much, Pia. Annette, can I ask you to talk a little bit about, from a faculty affairs perspective, what faculty might expect? A lot of it will be similar to what Pia talked about coming onto campus, but anything else that faculty should consider, and maybe some faculty development updates as well.
Sure. Well, faculty affairs really focuses on how we can help faculty mitigate the impacts of the pandemic. So we work to provide the tools and resources, professional development that will help them ease into their curriculum and working with the students. We provided probation extension programs, which is a one-time, one-year-long extension of the probationary period for tenure-track faculty. We have a COVID impact statement that will allow faculty to describe how the pandemic has affected their productivity. We have a provost letter that goes into their evaluation file, which really asks the evaluators to review their files within the context of the pandemic. We've convened an equity evaluation task force. We have used HERF funding to help our department chairs and support additional research and scholarly activity. Our faculty center has offered professional development sessions that focus on equity and well-being for faculty. We've administered leave programs, which also included the COVID-specific leaves, which are now no longer available, but we work with our faculty to make sure they have information on leaves that are provided for them. We also participated, and we continue to participate with implementation of the vaccination certification policy, the testing MOUs, which includes certification compliance. We're working with our third-party vendor, Shaw, on medical and religious exemptions, as well as COVID-related accommodations for faculty. And of course, as mentioned before, we are working with surveillance testing and contact tracing with our vendors. And all of this is to help provide a safe environment for our faculty, staff, and students. And we're here to respond to questions and provide any information on the current COVID and pandemic policies.
Oh, that's great. Thank you so much, Annette. I know you mentioned exemptions and some accommodations, so I just want to dive into that a little bit more. So, and with you as well, Pia. So my understanding is students, all of us, the whole campus must complete an attestation that says if we're coming to campus that we've either been vaccinated and upload our proof, or request a religious or a medical exemption. If someone requests a religious exemption, pretty much the accommodation for that is weekly testing. If someone requests a medical accommodation, then that will need to be reviewed through Faculty Affairs for Faculty or through our Bob Murphy Access Center, or BMAC, for students. And then once those accommodations are determined, then those will be negotiated and we'll move forward with those. So those are the primary accommodations that we will be dealing with. But again, those that are weekly testing, they'll be required to upload those testing results each week, and that will be connected to our pre-screen system with the red X. So if they're not uploading that weekly testing, we'll know. We'll have compliance available. And we're encouraging everyone in all of our centers and all of our spaces and all of our classrooms to be looking for those green checks or red X's anytime. So I think that's going to be very important for us moving forward. I want to move on to Provost System Gunn. So you've been with us since the summer. You've kind of watched us as we've moved through our repopulation efforts in fall. What do you think? How's it been for you coming onto campus in the middle of a pandemic? And what are you thinking as we move forward?
Yeah, so thank you so much. I want to just first of all assure any of the viewers of this webinar that we have some of the campus's most expert individuals speaking to where we are as a campus and how we've navigated these spaces, all with our primary intention being to make sure that the beach is a safe environment for all who come here. We've followed the science. We've been very closely, we've been vigilant about making sure that the practices that we've implemented for our campus are responsive to best practices, to science and guidance from our local health agencies. So I am quite confident in this first term that I've served that we have put every measure to bear to make sure that our signature tenet is to make sure that this environment for working, for learning, is as safe as possible. And so you've heard many of the strategies that have been implemented, making sure that we stay true to that charge. And admittedly, it's been we've been listening to individuals. I think that's one of the big important pieces too, is that there has always been an opportunity for various groups on campus to speak out and register concerns or want clarification on information. And I think the campus has been very responsive in that way to try to make sure that individuals are informed, so that we can make sure that people who come to campus to work and to learn are confident that they're in good hands and that we're doing the absolute best and we're following the most appropriate protocols to do so. Admittedly, there have been some days that it's felt like we've been flying the plane and building it at the same time, right? Because much of this has been unknown. This is an unprecedented space that we've lived through. But I've also been impressed in my assessment that at every single space, there's been the very quick communication, the very quick collaboration, the cross-referencing of information, the development of guidance, and communicating that guidance very broadly to make sure that individuals have a level of confidence about how we're continuing to conduct business on a day-to-day basis. So it has been an admirable space to be a part of as we have moved through this signal fall 21 semester. So thank you for asking my assessment. I have felt every confidence that this campus has put every will that we have to bear upon making sure that we're safe and operable at the same time.
Thank you. That's great, Provost. Appreciate that.
So
kind of speaking about coming back, let's talk a little bit about some of our repopulation numbers. So when we went and depopulated in spring 2020, we went down to about 4% of our courses were on campus, and we held that through fall 2020. In the last semester, we've gone up now in this current semester, we're up to about 40% of our courses on campus. And in spring, we're looking to have about 80% of our courses on campus. Some of those hybrid, but many of them fully face-to-face. We've decided to bring these courses back based on faculty, looking at the pedagogy of their courses and what they thought would best be taught in that environment. We've learned from the past year and a half, and we are about 20% online, which is a huge increase for us, right? We used to be at about 5%. So we're looking at our new normal, and we're still feeling our way through that. As we move forward, we expect that as we'll learn from what we went through in this semester in fall, and as we have students that are exposed or positive that need to take some time, we know that we might need to shift throughout the semester for a few weeks at a time. And I think everyone's ready for that. That's what we've been doing. So we appreciate everyone's flexibility with that. We also know that anytime public health comes with new guidance, we will follow their guidance. So as things may change in our community, in our environment, we will respond. So that's kind of where we are now, and we're feeling really good about that. But we will follow any changes that are recommended to us by CDC, by Cal OSHA, by our public health department. We're constantly looking for those recommendations, and we'll update as we need to. Michelle, I want to ask you, you've really helped coordinate our whole repopulation effort. Again, kind of your thoughts on where we've been and where we're going. And if you could also provide some updates on other things people might expect as they come back to campus in terms of parking and dining and all that fun stuff.
Yeah, sure. That's what I get asked most about. And so I want to talk about food on campus, parking, events. George kind of covered the cleaning, so I'll leave that to George. But in terms of food on campus, so in the USU, all the food options are coming back in the spring, with the exception of El Pollo Loco. I think they're still negotiating that. Some of them will have more limited hours, but in the main times of the day, all the food will be available in the USU. From the 49er side and their food offerings, the outposts will be open, continue to be open. Both convenience stores will be open. The corner market's going to be open. They're reopening the Wall Street Cafe over by CBA. The only one in question right now is the Nugget because of staffing. So we're kind of playing that by ear to make sure that we have the cooks and all the staff that support the Nugget. So that one might have a delayed opening. In terms of parking is being enforced all days. So make sure that if you did pause your parking permit, that you reinstate that before you come back to campus. The daily rate's going up to $12. So you want to make sure that you either have a daily permit or your regular permit before coming on campus. For the students, we're at 80%. We've had parking issues in the past. So we are working with a church to use their parking lot through March to offer the students parking there, and they will be shuttling them over. So that will be available to the students. I think it starts Monday and will go through the beginning of March. So hopefully parking will not be too impacted. Events, we are planning events as usual for the spring. That's for both the third party and the student events. Of course, we have to comply with the COVID regulations, which are always changing. So all event planners are working through the venue managers to work with environmental health and safety, make sure that we're meeting those requirements. Some of our larger venues are checking vaccination status for their attendees. So it just depends on the venue, depends on the audience. But we're working very closely with George and his team to make sure that we're meeting those requirements and that we're having safe events. But we are planning for Special Olympics in the summer. All of our key events we're planning on bringing back at this time.
That's exciting. I mean, that's part of our campus interacting with the community that we weren't able to do. And I know that we're really excited to be able to have our campus be part of our community again and bring people on. Just so everyone knows, visitors are also required to do pre-screens, and some of our events also require the vaccination proof or testing. So it just depends on the event. A lot of our performing arts do, and I think some of our athletics do as well. So we'll be back to running more like a normal campus, not just with academics, but with other academic events as well. So I know all of you have been back on campus. I think Dr. Fodrin and George, you were here all along, and I think all the rest of us have been kind of popping back over time. So what lessons learned for those that haven't been on campus? Do you have any advice for those that are coming onto campus for the first time?
I can go ahead and kick things off.
Great.
So I think from a health perspective and just based on what I do, I know that it can be kind of a little cumbersome and it takes a little bit of time. But please remember to do your pre-screen before you come to campus. So please remember to do that every day. It really helps keep our campus safe and healthy.
And
I
that
could add
pre-screen
something to that if you don't mind. The pre-screen is such an important tool, answering it honestly, answering before you come on campus, because any positive response kind of triggers our campus response, and it triggers my cleaning of spaces based on what we get from that tool. So it's not just one; it affects the entire campus as a whole, and it really affects us. Our response to this pandemic and ensure we respond quickly to changing events.
One of the
Thanks.
tips that I have is I have a reminder on my phone Monday through Friday every day. I come to work generally at 8 a.m. So every day at 7:30, my phone reminds me that I need to do my pre-screen. And another tip to do your pre-screen a little bit easier is to download the CSULB app. You can access the pre-screen a lot faster through the app than you can by using a web browser. So that speeds up the process, just makes it a little bit easier, and the alarm definitely helps me remember.
I know for me, it was exciting to come back to campus and just see people again, right? And I will say going through campus, we currently have a mask mandate indoors, but you still see most people wearing masks outdoors as well. Everyone's being very conscientious. Everyone's following our health and safety guidelines because we're part of a community. So we really have felt safe. We've had good experiences over the past year being on campus. And I know a lot of people are worried about the what ifs, but we really haven't had to deal with many of those. I think, Pia talks about our health safety ambassadors, and if you want to talk about their experiences as they come up and talk with students.
By and large, students have really been compliant with all of our policies. We haven't had a lot of trouble. My office is located in the University Student Union. Every now and then there'll be a student who has taken off their mask to eat lunch or have some coffee and they forget to put it on. As soon as somebody reminds them, they put their face covering back on. It really hasn't been problematic. There hasn't been pushback. Folks are used to it at this point. Folks understand and know that these are the safety protocols. And even from classrooms, we haven't been hearing any concerns about students who have not been compliant or willing to cooperate. And so I hope that gives folks a little bit of ease about returning and our students being really important campus partners in keeping our campus safe.
That's great. Provost Sissom-Gunn, I know it must have been unusual to come onto a campus and have it be an empty campus pretty much over summer. So if you could talk a little bit about the energy that you felt as we started to bring people back on campus.
Sure. So thank you for that question, because being a new member of the community, one of the points I think that I continued to hear was, we're going to have more people on campus, and it's just going to be wonderful to have that feel and vibe of the beach as a college campus again. And not having a context for that coming, before coming on board, I too got excited because I'm like, wow, I've fallen in love with the beach as a candidate for coming onto this campus as a member of the community. And now that I'm a member of the beach family, I too can't wait to experience that vibe and feel that I came to understand was so special about the beach. So I have to agree that there was an excitement about being safe, about bringing people on in a density that was safe, but at the same time, having an opportunity to bring more people on campus to do the business of the beach, to engage in their learning, to engage in instruction, to engage in all of those things that make us a campus. There was an excitement, and I was ready to experience that. And I think it bore to bear, right? That there was opportunity for people to engage with one another in person. I'm in Brotman Hall, and so we do some daily rotation, but it's almost an excitement when you see a person who may be telecommuting on one day and you see them the next day in their office. It's like, wow, it's nice to see you. It's just a fulfillment, I think, of that yearning for people to experience the beach in the way that many of you and now me have come to appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Provost. And I'm going to come back to you. We keep talking about spring being a new normal, but I think it's a new normal, not just in terms of return and repopulation, but also in terms of all of our efforts with Beach 2030. If you could talk a little bit about your thoughts about new normal and future as we move forward.
That too is an important question. And I have almost adopted a mindset around a next normal, right? Because many of the experiences that we have had to navigate through will become procedural. We've learned some efficiencies. We've learned some ways of conducting the business of a campus like this that may be different and may remain different from ways that we've done so before. And I think that falls into line with Beach 2030. It is our strategic vision forward. And Beach 2030 anticipates our ability to explore some future, the future vision of the campus. Not only what kinds of instructional activities or professional development activities or engaging with our greater community, but even from an operational standpoint, how can we envision the future of our campus and its its signature as the beach. So as you may know, there are 7 action zones that constitute the strategic vision for what we're calling Beach 2030. And those action zones capture our strategies around how do we develop a more empowering and equitable campus culture? How do we reimagine faculty? How do we reimagine staff? How do we envision our campus as a student-ready university? How do we think about additional strategies to grow the footprint of the beach, even if it's in an online format, even if it's not, students and faculty who find themselves coming to campus, but are experiencing an instructional presence, in a digital format? And how do we really think about the grand challenges that we as the beach, with our exceptional faculty, with our extraordinary and committed staff, with our eager students, and our external partnerships with the Long Beach community, and all of the kinds of economic opportunities that present partnership space for us and the Long Beach community. How do we think about grand challenges that we as a campus can position ourselves in these partnerships to make an impact on, right? So Beach 2030 is our pathway forward. And I think it falls in the context of this next normal, the new efficiencies and new ways that we can think about operating as a campus community moving forward.
Oh, that's great. It's very inspiring. Thank you for sharing that. Kind of talking about moving forward, and I'd like to go to you, Dr. Fodran, if you could talk a little bit about health, right? So what might be different on our campus and how we operate moving forward, just based on what we've experienced through the pandemic?
Yeah, I think one of the silver linings of the pandemic is an increased focus on health and well-being. And so I see that as a priority for campus moving forward, and just really embracing kind of the complexities all of us face, and how to better collaborate and embrace, our campus community as individuals, and addressing needs on a more holistic basis.
That's great. I've said before, one of my goals for health is that no one ever comes to campus with a fever or is ill again, right? That I think we've learned our lessons about that. So hopefully we'll be able to take some of what we've learned through this experience and carry that forward as well. Pia, what are your thoughts in terms of how things might be different for students on campus in the future?
My hope is that moving forward, there's just much more flexibility for students. There's flexibility in modes of instruction, flexibility in how they meet with different resources across campus, providing resources for longer hours that are convenient for students, providing resources virtually. So if a student can't make it to campus, or there's some other complication going on, they got work, they got children, whatever it is, we can provide more flexibility. I expect that we're going to be able to continue to offer services both virtually and in person as we continue to increase our repopulation efforts. My hope is that we'll have more programs and events that are recorded and or hybrid, so that students can participate whether or not they can be on campus at that specific time. And just more opportunities and ways to engage with the campus community. And the last 2 years have shown us that we can do a lot with technology to keep folks engaged. And I'm excited to engage our students both in person and continue to do it virtually as well.
That's very exciting. Thank you. Annette, I'm going to ask you the same about faculty. What do you see about the future of faculty on our campus?
To echo what a lot of everyone has already said, I see a lot of flexibility in how the modalities of instruction will be delivered. Not only that, a lot more creativity in how they offer the instruction in the different modalities. With all of the new technology that's coming through, they can really deliver an experience for students and digitally that can be just as exciting as being face-to-face. And of course, the flexibility of how they come and when they come face-to-face is going to be part of the next normal. I also see more flexibility in how our students, our faculty, and staff will be working, where they're working, and how they choose to schedule their work. So all of these are great opportunities to reimagine how we deliver and how we collaborate with each other on campus. I think there's going to be a lot more creativity and opportunities to do things differently.
That's great. George, thinking about spaces and the health and safety of our campus, I love an example for our performing arts that need to practice without a face mask. We have very strict requirements, and they can only practice outdoors and apart and all sorts of stuff. And Beach Building Services created this beautiful patio space on a rooftop with beautiful lights. And it's like, it's someplace I want to go hang out now and moving forward. What other things that do you think we've learned through this experience that might carry forward and be different for us in our future on campus?
I think you hit it right as far as, exploring the areas, right? Exploring the outdoors. We're having projects where we're exploring outdoor classrooms, where we're getting into classroom spaces where we can start using. We have such a beautiful campus. We're here at the beach. Everyone wants to come to California. Everyone wants to come down the beach. Use our environment to our advantage to allow more outdoor activities, allow more natural ventilation, where we don't have to be worried about being in these enclosed spaces. So I like that, the focus on that. As Kim had mentioned, I like the focus on hygiene, health and safety from a hygienic perspective. We had hand sanitizers at locations. We're telling people to wash their hands every 30 minutes. We're wiping things down after use. And for me, from a health and safety perspective, that's great. That brings our numbers as far as sickness, as far as people, getting flu and other issues, not just COVID, but other viruses and other colds and other symptoms, right? Minimizing that. So from a health and safety perspective, I like the hygiene where we're heading to, and hopefully, we keep that moving forward.
That's great. Michelle, I saved you for last on the future question because I think of you as the supreme futurist, right? You've been working with us all along on our futures thinking. And so just your overall thoughts on the future of our campus.
Oh, well, that's a big question. Let me talk to staff for just a second. We think telecommuting is here to stay. Not necessarily exactly how we did it in COVID, but some new normal that telecommuting is a big part of how we work and communicate on campus. I know the Chancellor's Office just published a telecommuting policy, so that each campus is now working to figure out if they can customize it, or they need to customize it, or just adopt it as is. But I think the way that we work together and that we work with our colleagues will change. Beach 2030, we envision, hybrid teams, cross-divisional work, cross-train, so many exciting opportunities for how we work together as staff and where we work and how we do it. So I think COVID has just pushed us forward in terms of reimagining staff for sure. In the other areas, I think, and operations, how we offer our services. We have always talked about expanding hours, expanding into the weekends, and now we see how we can do that. And again, just kind of push us forward on those. But it's really about increasing access to our services for students and making sure that they're available to our students and our customers, staff, and faculty when they need them. And so I see exciting things in that area, not just through technology, but also through like the people and processes and what has changed and become more effective in COVID. And I'm just excited to see how that plays out over the next few years as well.
That's exciting. So I think you're hearing that we're feeling confident about our return to campus. We know that things can change quickly and we'll follow those developments and we will communicate those to you. We have several websites that we will provide access for you, but really the campus main page has a banner at the top that can link you to our COVID website. And really start there. I think that's a great place to go. So for continuing information as we have it, we'll bring it forward to you. Provost, I want to leave it with you if you have any final comments for us.
I do. I want to thank this expert team for taking out a few moments of your time to discuss this information and to provide updates that are beneficial for our campus community. We're at the point of an academic year where we're shutting down a fall term, and it's been an extraordinary fall term. And individuals will be going out on breaks and engaging in the community and engaging in hopefully reflective and joyful activities that you've been wanting to do with the people that you want to do them with. We want everyone to remain safe. We are looking forward to those individuals who are coming to be a member to resume your business with the beach, or if you're coming to the beach for the first time in the spring of 2022. We just hope that if you get a chance to view this webinar, that you get a sense of the kinds of the context of how we are approaching safety at the beach for not only to close out this semester, but to start out the next semester. And we're just, encouraging individuals to learn about what we perceive to be safe procedures for the beach and to become a citizen in that. And to thank you in advance for doing your part to make sure that we maintain a very safe and productive beach environment for our whole community. And happy holidays to everyone.
Thank you, Provost. I think we all hope that everyone out there has a great winter break. We know how important it is now to take care of your physical and your mental health. And so we hope you're able to enjoy some time and rejuvenate. And we're excited to start our spring semester, and we'll see you all then. Thank you.
Go
Beach.